is all around me. Oh, let me know that love is all around me. Let me know that love is all around me. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Soul Fulfilling. I'm going to sing a little longer because people are just coming in the room. Hey, Marion Lewis. Hey. You get a free candle for being the first one on. Yes. We never did it that way. Let's see. Whoever comes in at number 15, they get a Pray For Me CD. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Hey, Mardell, Taliba Young. Ooh. Hey, Meg Tahar, welcome to Soul Fulfilling tonight. Can y'all hear me good? Where's the piano too loud? Everything good? Yes. Susan Ray King, shut the door. There she is. Love, 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 and more love. Dorothy Waterman, hello. I love you in a holy, holy way, Dorothy. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Come on in the room. We're going to keep praising God and acknowledging that the Most High is the way we want to be walking. We want to be walking in a holy, holy way. Not just holy in your imagination, but in your living, and the way you learn, and the way you realign yourself with the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So if you don't believe in God, you might not want to be on this thread. Hey, I'm going to make you mad, baby. Or our Creator. Yeah, you got to believe in a Creator who made the sun. Hey. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love in a holy, holy way. Mary Monroe, she's coming in from Trinidad. And Taliba, Chef Lori, and others will be joining us. And so right now, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Rickie Byars. Everybody on the thread knows that. But for the people who will be joining us later on YouTube, and they do, and on Facebook, I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know that what my mission is and my purpose is to raise the bar through music, is to shower the world with devotional music in a holy, holy way, to give you sounds of love, to help you recalibrate, to keep you reminded that you are loved and that you are needed and that you are beautiful. So welcome. As you can tell, I am lit up this evening, and I'm lighting up. I'm lighting up for a particular reason, because I have a very dear friend that's on with me tonight, and his name is Charles Porter. But I don't want to bring Charles in just yet. I'm going to sing a little bit more as people load in, because I don't want y'all to miss this brother. You know what I'm saying? Man, I put on some powder. I don't know. I think I would have done better without it. But anyway, so while you come on in, hi, Lisa Michelle, Sharon Fuller. Yeah, y'all coming in. Oh, I know what's wrong. I know. Here I am. My monitors were down. Yeah, that's it. Hey, Maxine. Are you still with us? Are you with? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we go. my soul. Take it up, Mickey Maxwell. Grateful, I am grateful to be grateful in my soul. Oh my God, my sister's in the house. Hey, doll. Grateful, I am grateful to be grateful in my soul. Hey, Joanne. Grateful, I am grateful to be grateful in my soul. What are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? Hey, John the boy, you're grateful for being in Hawaii. I know what you're grateful for. To be grateful, to be grateful in my soul. I'm grateful in my soul. Hallelujah. In my soul. I'm grateful in my soul. Oh my, in my soul. I share in my soul. Alafia in my soul. I'm grateful. Hey, Sherilyn. It's feeling good. So I think it's time for me to say Ashe. Thank you. Welcome to Soul Fulfilling Songs and Conversations. And tonight we have, I think, a surprise for you. I'm welcoming into the room someone that I met so many years ago, probably about 15, 16 years ago. And at that time, uh, I had become aware of a part of town that I hadn't been so aware of. And I had to go to India to get the hit that my village wasn't in. Well, the village in India, I mean, those are my people, but that there were people right down the street from me, not too far, that could be a village, could be a village that I could begin to connect with, tend to, care about, meet. And as I stretched and uh, began to care about my relationships with the people downtown, uh, we did a festival there, Street Lights, and I believe I was meeting Charles and getting to know him better during the Street Lights. And so we're going to bring into the room Charles Porter so that we can talk about how we met, your work for over 30 years on Skid Row, Central City East, aka Skid Row,
Rough.
aka Skid Row. I mean,
That's right.
so many people won't. They taking Skid Row and calling it the Row and doing all.
Remixing it.
They're remixing it. How are you doing this evening?
Honored to be here. So it's uh, before I jumped on, I was we were chatting in the green room, and I was saying Rickie's one of my favorite people, and so since we met, we've connected, and have to honor also the ancestor Kevin Michael Key, who just really
Hey,
powerful, strong advocate, Eddie H, folks that here in Skid Row, they stood up for the humanity of folks that were here. I think when I first started working in Skid Row, it was back in a long time ago before I had gray hair. It was like 1999.
99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the folks at the time, some folks didn't like the name Skid Row, and other
Mhm.
folks took great pride in it. And so I
Yeah.
think it's kind of been um, a movement of folks to say Skid Row is our community, Skid Row is our neighborhood, and we're here. And we should be respected like any other neighbor, any other community. It's been a big fight recently just around what the future of Skid Row looks like, using
Mhm.
community plans,
Mhm.
using zoning, and folks are
Mhm.
like, okay, we're not planning for the next 20 years.
Mhm.
You forgot about us for the past, 60 years. So
Mhm. Mhm.
we want to make sure we're represented. So I know for me, when we met, it was just connecting on compassion and concern and uplifting, meeting folks where they are. And I
Mhm.
think I've worked in this community for a long time, and folks are like, "Well, how can you work there so long? It must be miserable because there are a lot of disparities. There are a lot of folks we've lost, but there's
Yes.
also a lot of beauty, and the sense of community here is stronger than you find anywhere. Just people that look out for each other, people that share. People that have the least are the most giving, the most generous,
Oh
and,
my gosh.
and
Remember that time when I was down, we were down there together and I was hungry and I hadn't had anything to eat. And people came up, they put a cup on the table that was right in front of me and they started taking up a collection so that I could get something so that I could get something to eat.
right,
Remember? That was
right, right,
deep.
right.
There was they I mean that they cared.
So there's a lot of that, a lot of love, a lot of humanity,
Lot of
and people
humanity.
don't see that when they pass through Skid Row. People are
Yeah.
afraid. They start locking their doors. And well, the other
Right.
thing is a predominantly black community, and
Mm-hmm.
so and I never forget when I interviewed for the position I have now. One of the questions I was asked was, how do you feel about working in this neighborhood? And
Mm-hmm.
the question to me was kind of odd because at the time I was taking the bus. So I took the bus to get here and
Mm-hmm.
I'm passing all these black faces. And
Mm-hmm.
so when that question was asked, it was it was strange to me because my response was well, oh, how do I feel about working in a black neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
with black people? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I love
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
I'm black. And so but I didn't understand the levels of disparities. I was kind of new to LA. I'm
Mm-hmm.
originally from New Jersey.
Yeah, I got something that I want to read about you,
Okay,
but I want you to finish what you're saying.
okay, now I'm a pause because I'll keep going. I'll
Yeah,
keep going. I can,
right. You know what? You my brother.
right,
Listen, I know you my brother from another mother. I know that. Or
that's right.
I know you are. I was like, Charles is so related to me. I bet you hung your bottom lip when you were a little baby too. Charles Porter. Who is Charles Porter? Charles Porter is a fifth generation descendant of Bushtown Village, a free black settlement in Salem County, New Jersey. I'm going to say that again. A fifth generation descendant of Bushtown Village, a free black settlement in Salem County, New Jersey. Now, before I go further, tell us about what that means. We
You,
know, I can pretty much put together fifth generation.
right. I was
You,
actually recently invited. My father invited me to present at one of the older churches in that community for their Black History Month celebration. And as I was going over my notes, I think I gave the same little bio to my dad. I was like, "Here, just use this." and
but this is not quite the same one. That's just the beginning.
but the one of the things that I had to correct him because I started looking at my research on my genealogy,
Yes.
and I have one of my descendants actually goes back 8 generations in New Jersey.
Mm,
And so that's what that means to me. I was just watching the show with Gates when they do the DNA and they let
hmm
people know. But and one of the people on the show, he was like, "Wow, you're one of the few people who can trace an ancestor back to before the Civil War,
hmm
and their ancestor was free." And
hmm
and one of the things I started finding in my research that there were a lot of people in my family that were free. They were in all the census form.
hmm
Every
hmm
time I went back, I kept finding folks, and so
hmm
it kind of goes against the narrative of what I learned growing up. We
hmm
thought Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, but
hmm
there have always been free black people in this country. There's
Yeah.
always been folks here. Doesn't mean their quality of life was great because we're
Hmm.
still dealing with
The same
systemic challenges
discrimination. Hmm.
today.
Hmm.
But I come from a community that at one point it was a Quaker settlement. It's
Hmm.
actually it's older than the city of Philadelphia, the area that I'm from. And at one point, the Quakers were involved in the slave trade, and then they realized that it was contradictory to their existence. So they fought to liberate folks and to
Hmm.
for abolition. And so the neighborhood that my family is from is kind of a safe haven. It's a place where folks in the middle of the woods, out in the country, there was just a black community that formed, and people, and it was actually networks that were formed prior to what we call the Underground Railroad. There was a network of free black people and the black churches and some of the black Masonic organizations. They were moving people all across the country and out of the country,
Hmm.
and not much has really been told. People now are discovering more about that, but growing up, I didn't really learn anything about that. So,
Hmm.
just blessed to know that the community I grew up in, and we used to consider ourselves country, but we take pride in it.
Yeah. Well, a little bit, we take pride in our country too.
That's right. But
My sister's on. Ain't that right, dog?
and the neighborhood I'm from, like we just even some of the older cemeteries, we just found like Civil War veterans and just a
Hmm.
whole history just right there that's been there the whole time. That and some of it has been hidden, so that's been a challenge for me. And telling the story is that because it was a free black community, it was also off the grid because
Hmm.
it would be dangerous if people knew, hey,
Hmm.
this is a safe haven for black folks. And
Hmm.
so it was just the people who knew, and if you
Hmm.
made it there, you were able to become part of the community. But
Well, it reminds me of what Gil Scott Heron says: the revolution will not be televised.
right,
It's like sometimes sometimes when you tell too much of what it is that you're planning to do, and especially if you're organizing community, and in this country, and you have to be careful many times the way you do what you do, so that it doesn't get shut down
that's right.
by somebody that just by let's just say some otherness. But moving on with my reading here. So that's what, and there's a whole lot there. I mean, that's a whole movie. The being the eighth generation descendant of Bushtown Village, a free black settlement in Salem County, New Jersey. Charles Porter is a graduate of Howard University who brings his profound understanding of African spiritual and cultural practices to many people Central City East, aka Skid Row, and beyond. He has worked in violence and drug prevention for nearly 30 years, incorporating poetry, African chant, storytelling, the visual arts, and so much more into his methodology. So I asked them to tune in tonight so that they could learn how to heal, celebrate, and build community with the rhythms of Africa and songs of love. And then I said RIGASA, which means rest in God, and say Amen. That's RIGASA is also a city in Nigeria, I found out. But it's a really beautiful tagline that we use in the B Hood that says rest in God and say Amen. So I'm just real thankful that you're joining us this evening, Charles Porter. Yay, yay, yay,
My honor,
yay.
my honor.
So, Charles, tell me about, oh,
There's knocking.
hold on. Excuse me. The food is here.
Gotta get the food.
And nobody's downstairs right now. But yeah, when I finish, it's gonna be quite a feast in there to celebrate Charles Porter having been on the show tonight.
Oh, come on, man.
Too bad you won't be here. I'll eat yours, and
All
yours too.
right,
The vegan sushi with attitude
just hold
is
it up
what.
in the air.
Yes. So working with so many different people, and with so many different functions. I mean, Charles, you, well, when I met you, I came to. I don't know if I had participated yet in a program with you on Skid Row, but we were meeting and formulating how we were going to do the Street Lights Festival, and it was very important. Hold on a second. Talk, Charles.
All righty.
Just a
You
second.
know, I like to talk. So I'm gonna go back to one of the things that I want to highlight just about Skid Row is this whole concept of community. So if you leave here with nothing from what I said, you will leave knowing Skid Row is a community, is a neighborhood, and I'm really blessed to work here because of my passion in
No, but thank you.
knowing what it is to be me and knowing about my history and my heritage. And even I mentioned right now just not knowing anything about the um the community that I grew up in, and it was a rich community. No one told any history about it. And so I'm like the local historian, even though I'm not living there. People just hit me up and like, oh, tell me about the history. But for me, it's also a journey of how to the field that I work in, the prevention field, is also the company I work for also has treatment programs. And so when I first started working in Skid Row, I learned about the 12-step process and just about recovery. And so
Mhm.
I told folks that although I'm not in recovery from substance abuse, it was a similar process for me of getting rid of all of the brainwash and the garbage about what it means to be black, who black people are, who African people are, the African
Mhm.
diaspora. And so it was a journey, it was a process. And so
Mhm.
the things that sparked my interest about African culture, people were like, nah, don't mess with that. Leave that alone. That's some African stuff. And
Mhm.
it just negative connotations, negative feedback. And it's like, but this is our ancestors. That
This
doesn't make
this is when you were this is
I
when
was
you
younger. Yeah.
was it before you got to downtown?
Yeah, before I got to downtown. And so
Mhm.
that's one of the things that I brought with me is just this quest to know who our people are, to be
Mhm.
able to and the other thing is to be able to have a perspective that is African centered,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
is not what someone tells you
Mhm.
your people. This is what your people are. And
Mhm.
and so
Mhm.
that was important for me because it was part of my own growth and development. It was things I wanted to know, and
Mhm.
as I learned them, I was able to share. And so that's something I think um, is a privilege for me to be able to bring to this community
Oh,
because
and you bring it. Oh my God,
that's who I am. So wherever I go,
man!
that's what
When
I'm doing. I'm learning, I'm teaching, I'm sharing.
you're something, we went down there for one for one of your classes on a Monday night, Monday or Tuesday night, and it was at and we had to find parking, and it was laborious just trying to find parking and then wade through the people to get to the place where you were teaching. And Georgia came. She had just had a little baby, and and we brought other people with us that were riding in the car with us. But I'm here to tell you, once we got in that room and heard you talking about, with the African studies and talking about just all the nuances, everything that you were giving was just so rich. It was so rich, and it was so soulful, because a lot of times teachers can be so academically inclined that they don't have no funk, and it'd be just as boring. And I go to a lot of gatherings, where people are up there talking about, sometimes during Black History Month, and they're giving a calendar of things that have happened in the world, in the history. But the way the information is given ain't no joy. It's just everything is like, and then they did this, and then they did that. I'm going like, but something kept us going. Something kept us alive.
Mhm.
Something keeps us reaching and building and wanting to connect. And it's not that energy. That energy is not that. What that energy does is it just drives. It repels, rather than, and your energy has always been the kind of energy that makes me want to connect. And as a matter of fact, you invited us down to be a part of the Black History Month celebration, we had a lot of white people in our choir. You know, we came down there. We were part of the parade.
Right.
I think Lisa Michelle is on. I mean, we have some people in the thread that were part of the parade when we first came. Maxine, people who sang at Streetlights Festival. I mean, it was just an amazing thing to be there. And I think that was the first real festival that, that I was able to co-produce, and it was amazing. I remember Nathaniel, the guitar, the violinist that they did the movie on. And then he came, we began to meet and find the ways that we could share in our experience of life together. And that's something that you have always done. What I don't think I have done very well, and I need coaching on this. So we'll talk about it when after, not after the show, but we'll talk about it, because I want to bring something to the people in Central City East that would be good, that wouldn't be corny, that would be soulful, but even more than that would build, and that would really assist in a holy way. And maybe it's not me doing music, maybe it's something else I'm doing, but I'm your sister, and I really honor the work that you've done there. And so can you tell us about the program that's happening this coming Friday, and then the years that you've done it? Because when Kevin Michael Keys was there, when he was alive, oh my God, it would be so dynamic, the way he welcomed us in, and the way you and everybody, we'd be walking through the streets and shouting the names of people who had passed on, and the women who were, it's been rich.
So we started, and I mentioned I started working in Skid Row in '99. I think our first official festival was like 2001. But that was one of the things we realized, is that, what are we doing for Black History Month? Like, this is a Black community. And so the work that we did, we also tried to ground it in being culturally responsive. It's like, okay, what is it that, and to your point about being soulful, because when you're inspiring people to be well and to change behaviors, you can't come in and be like, what you're doing is wrong. It's gonna kill you. That's gonna kill you, right? And so you have to have a different approach. And so, and part of it is what I was talking about, my own personal journey and path, is many people don't know who they are. They don't know who they are, and they don't have a connection to. And that's something I think I also give great respect to my parents and honor to my ancestors, because as I talk about my experience, which is kind of unique, but it's not unique, because there were free Black communities all over the country, but they just haven't been well documented. So one of the things I do realize is that having that many generations of free folks, it also the trauma that is, what is the word, epigenetic. People talk about epigenetics, like that trauma. What I inherited was, I inherited the resilience and the hope and the joy. And so there were generations of people who had been free, who had been living their life, that were like, you can be what you strive to be. And so I didn't really have that weight in that regard. And so, and I reference my father and my mother. They laugh and smile all the time. And so when I kind of came to the community, folks like, why are you laughing all the time? Why are you smiling all? What's funny?
Right.
Then they get mad. They're mad because you smile.
They mad because you happy.
Right. It's just because I think my connection just to life and the life force, what sustains us. I think at some point, not to minimize the struggles that we face or the need for us to stand up and advocate for justice, but we also have to find that place of what brings healing. What is healing? What brings healing to us? And in the work that I do in the community, how can you bring healing to the community? How can you bring medicine and healing to the community?
Mm,
You
mm.
can't do that if you're not operating from a place of wellness. And
Well,
so,
well, I'm gonna tell you what blew me away, where you're concerned, where you're concerned in particular, was when I came to one of the Black History programs, and I've been to many downtown. I'm so honored to come. I'm going to try to I'm going to come on Friday.
okay,
You know, I'm coming.
this
Uh,
is our 24th. Just this Friday will be our 24th annual festival.
so everybody's invited.
Yeah, everybody, come on down. The address not on there, but just the Skid Row, San Julian Park. It's on Fifth Street. So
Yeah.
you Google it, it'll pop up.
Man, you know what? It's so funny because I pass by the park every Friday on my way to the gym to work out downtown. I work out with a wellness facilitator named Nee, who has his own gym,
Nice,
and he's from Ghana.
nice.
And I pass by St. Jude Park every Friday. So I'm gonna tell him I ain't coming this Friday.
That's right.
I'm be at the park, bro. I'm gonna be at the park. But when I went to the first one, maybe I don't know if it was the first one, but maybe it was the second one. But and I heard you playing drums and singing with the African chants with the brother Babalawo. What's his name? Babalawo. What's his?
Buffalo, or Bob Felipe. Felipe, was it?
Yeah, the man who always looked like he older than he looked.
Yeah, yeah,
Man,
yeah.
I was like, Charles, you
Mavalosa. Uh-huh.
Charles, you were hitting it. I was like, what? How did that happen?
Right, right.
When did you start playing? When did you start learning
So
the songs?
that's also part of, I would say one of part of the blessings I have received is I mentioned the great community I come from, great family I come from, but I just been blessed also to always have mentors. And so when I was younger, when I was in high school, I went through rites of passage program, and there were always mentors that pulled me to the side and say, this is a good brother. This is information you need to know. And so in that regard, I would say part of who I am was also cultivated by people who saw gifts in me. And
Yes.
so for me, when I connected with Bob Felipe, it was part of wanting to know more about African culture and heritage. And his family is from Matanzas in Cuba. And so he's monolingual Spanish speaker. So I had to step up my Spanish skills. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm pretty fluent in Cuban Spanish. But
Hmm.
he talks about his grandparents. As I talk about like my ancestors, he talks
Hmm.
about his grandparents and great grandparents and how they spoke African languages. He was like, we're here in Cuba, but in the house of my elders, you had to speak Yoruba. You had to know the Congolese language. You had to know the rituals and the
Hmm.
songs and the ceremony. And there were certain things you had to do when you entered the home that were how they honored what was passed down in their lineage. And
Hmm.
so he just kind of adopted me as part of the family. He's another great teacher that just when people come around,
Hmm.
he's a matter of fact, he just turned 92. He claims he's 93. I don't argue with him.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
93, but he still has his wits. Matter of fact, there's an exhibit right now at UCLA that has some of his artwork,
Hmm.
some of his bead work. And so I
Uh,
learned from
where,
him
where at
at
UCLA?
the Fowler Museum.
At the Fowler. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like the Fowler.
yeah, they have an exhibit now on Yoruba culture and the diaspora, and
Uh-huh.
they have some of his bead work. So he's actually was acknowledged by Congress for his bead work.
Wow.
And so that was another skill so that's the other thing too. Like African people had many skills, drum making. So he's a
Hmm.
drum maker. He learned to
Hmm.
make drums from scratch. So
Hmm. Hmm.
that's not a lesson I learned. I can't make drums from scratch, but I do know how to play the rhythms and some of the songs. And so for me, that's important because that just is also example of like not everything we want to learn is in books that sometimes you have to have a teacher. You have to sit down and take
Mhm.
the time to learn. And he comes from an era where people weren't writing the songs down. That would just
Oh, that's like me.
they just you memorize it. You memorize it, and you know
Until
the
wait,
time
wait,
limit.
wait a minute, until Greta came along, Greta started writing them down for me. But there's a whole lot with the way I teach, the way I taught, because it's another era. I'm in another zone now. I still do I still do what I've always done. I'm still a composer, still a singer, still a musician, but the way I teach stuff is like it's oral. It's like you're listening to it. You're going to listen to it, and then you're going to get it. I see Nelson is on tonight. Nelson was a tenor in the choir and in the Agape choir when I was the choir director there. Taliba Young was in the choir. Maxine, Mickey Maxwell. We have several people. Lisa Michelle, several people. Chef Lori. We have people on the thread who. Wait a minute, I might be making up stories. Chef Lori, were you in the choir? I know your mama was, but they would listen and learn.
Mm,
They would listen to the part and they would learn. And I mean, lots of songs, so many songs. By the way, this coming, hi, Annie O'Neill, filmmaker and first soprano. But what we're doing this Saturday is a reunion uh, of the Agape choir. We call it the Golden Era, the era that I was the choir director, and we do it quarterly, where everybody just gets together and we play the songs, we play some songs, but there's so many that it's a part of them.
mhm.
I don't think I've ever seen it a situation like this where there's a total original book of music that's in their bones. And uh, when I hear you do what you do, and I'm up there listening to the songs, it's like I know the songs. I haven't heard them, but they're in me.
Right.
They're
And
in me.
you could feel it's familiar because it was something our ancestors created. And so it's the same energy. That's how also I was talking about when people have an interest in like African spirituality
Hmm.
culture, you sometimes people will hit this brick wall because like I said, all of the propaganda about
Hmm.
this being negative or this being devil worship or this being like all this just like all the negative connotations with being black.
Hmm.
And so one of the things that drew a lot of people into like meeting about Felipe is the music that people would listen, like the jazz. People would listen to jazz and Afro-Cuban music, and it's like, wow, what is this? And they would hear the songs and the
And these
chant.
are the people we're talking about. The people downtown.
This is everywhere. But also my elders too. A lot of my
Okay.
elders, that's how they started studying, is that they
Hmm.
heard some music that just hit them, and
Hmm.
they was like,
Hmm.
"Wow, that song is deep." And then they met someone and say, "Hey, you know what that song is about?" No.
Hmm.
Oh, I know somebody that knows. They can show you where that music comes from.
Hmm.
So, and that's something that happened with me. It's like, wow, this is familiar. Funny story too. My parents, I took my parents to a ceremony where they were drumming and singing in Yoruba language, and it was familiar because my mom, she grew up in the Pentecostal church, and
Hmm.
she people are familiar with spirit, and you can feel the spirit moving, and people like, wow. I mean, it is a common ground that's unfamiliar but familiar.
Hmm.
And so, but sometimes people won't even enter that space because they assume that it has to be negative because it's
Hmm.
something they don't know about. But one thing I want to share quickly too, I was blessed also in my travels to be able to travel to Nigeria. And my first trip to Nigeria, there was a song that my teacher taught me. Well, I wanted to show off because I'm like, hey, I learned all these songs. But I didn't know all the translations because of time and distance. And so I started singing this one song that my teacher taught me. Ikimbalele mi wo ikimbalele soromode omo akandele o ikimbalele mi wo. So um Ikimbale, let me walk. So I sang the song and they said, "Oh yeah, we know that song." It's like, "You know this song?" It's like, "Yeah." So then they started translating and said, "Oh, we sing it a little different." And that was a song that my one of my elders that about Felipe, that's like a ancestral song that
Mhm.
like people they sing for the ancestors. And so when they translated, they said that song is talking about how the people who are responsible for doing the burial rites, that there is a lot of training, there's a lot of learning and information that you have to know so
This
that
is what the song is about.
that's what the song is about. So
Mhm.
the song is talking about how the people on the outside, all they see when they look into the sacred grove are trees. That's what this is like. Iggy Ballet. All you see is the tree inside of the sacred grove. You don't know the mystery. You don't know what's happening. You don't know
Mhm.
the ritual. And so that song is pretty much saying like, if you really want to develop yourself
Mhm.
spiritually, like you have to make a commitment to know the deeper meaning and the deeper understanding. You can't just be
Mhm.
on the periphery. You
Mhm.
can't just be on the sidelines. And so
Mhm.
it was deep because I didn't know what this song was talking about. And it's like, yeah, that
Mhm.
song is saying that it's the people who know who know. The
Mhm.
people that don't know, they just guessing.
Mhm.
They're making speculations, but it goes back to also just kind of what we learn about ourselves is that we're learning from people who don't know. They don't know who we are. They don't
Mhm.
know our experience. They don't know. And the elders, like you mentioned, it's an oral tradition. There are things that people know that, and they don't share everything with everyone. One of the
Mhm.
things that in African culture, if you really want to learn from an elder,
Mhm.
you have to demonstrate your commitment. You have to demonstrate your consistency, your loyalty, but
Mhm.
you also have to be of good character. If your
Mhm.
character is not good, they're not gonna. And you also have to push. So if, like, for example, if I learn one song and I come back and I sing that song, guess what?
Mhm.
They'll teach me another song. And
Mhm.
so it works like that. Also, you have to apply yourself and
I
get.
think it's kind of not it's kind of interesting because I hear you describing that, right? And that's an African tradition. But I grew up in the segregated South, and my teachers were it was total black community, and they were the teachers, and and they were like that, if they saw. But the thing is like if you were serious and if they saw that you wanted to write, then they showed up for you. Not and not all my, well, one of my teachers, and not every it was a segregated South, but there were a few teachers that were not that weren't black people, but just a few. The majority of the teachers were black people, but but there were two that were my teachers, and two of them, man, they taught me. It was you had a class that started out with 15 kids, and it ended up being one, and
Mm,
I was always that one. I was interested in it. I was
mm,
interested in it. And they taught me
right,
because I was interested in it.
right.
And it didn't matter that they didn't have a class full of people.
Hmm.
It's like, and it didn't matter whether the teacher was a black teacher or a white teacher. What mattered was that the teacher was committed to the learning process.
That's right.
And in the South in those days, folks did care
Mm,
about children learning, about the learning process. It wasn't about the SAT or all these different. Actually, there was a test we had to take, and that was the California Standardized Test. Can you believe that? California was the highest standard.
wow.
California was the standard, and now California's educational system is just so bad,
Yeah.
you know. But learning period is a loving, sharing, listening process. So when you talk about the way you get it through the African tradition, it's so interesting to me because that tradition has been around a very, 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 very long time. And what I have gotten from it through my teachers has been a corner of it, you know. But I've done well with my corner.
That's
But I,
right.
but I, but I, but I, and I honor my corner, you know. I honor, because I think that the spirit is working through us all. What I love is that you love the tradition that you've learned, you know, and you love, and when y'all singing and doing
Right.
y'all thing, it ain't nothing but joy.
That's
And
right.
that, and
Get
that's a
in the
big,
groove.
well,
Yeah.
well, is it joy that's healing downtown in your work? What is what,
I would say in my work, and there was um an exhibit that I helped to curate that was really me telling the story. At,
ooh,
uh,
that was good.
yeah, it's called Cosmology and Community, but it was
Yes.
at the Skid Row History Museum. If you go
Hmm.
online, the LA Poverty Department, they have a website, and if you go online, they actually have videos of all of the sessions. So they document it.
Did they have the one when we were there?
They have our
Oh my
sessions
God.
too.
So it's
Yeah.
lapovertydepartment.org.
I think it maybe, yeah, maybe .org, but if you just Google
LA Poverty Department.
cosmology and community, it'll
Oh,
pop
okay.
up.
I like
Yeah.
that.
So the exhibit is cosmology and community. So there's a link to the page, but when I worked on that exhibit, it was an opportunity for me to really look at my work and how I incorporate culture, but
Hmm.
also how there's layers to who we are. And so that's what the exhibit had murals, and the murals were telling the story. So it's like an origin story, and then just the process of learning, as you mentioned, and then how to incorporate it into the community, and how to inspire people to be themselves and to speak up. I think for me and the work that I do, is always culture and music has always been a part of what we do. And so
Hmm.
we've our work also focused at like the local parks. And so at one point it was very intentional because there was a lot of drug activity.
Hmm.
And so we just had this idea, it's like if we fill that space with positive energy, then
Hmm.
people are gonna be immersed in it. And that's
Hmm.
that's pretty much what happened. So while we were doing our events and like Black History Month celebration,
Hmm.
that whole time we're doing an event, we're creating a energy. There's a vibe. There's a feeling. And
Hmm.
when the event stops, it's noticeable. People are like,
Hmm.
"Wow!" Like it's like someone pulls the plug out.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
why it's happening, you can feel the energy the whole time that event is happening.
Hmm.
There's healing energy that
Yes.
and it builds, and people add to it, and people even we've had experiences in our early days just kind of doing engagement where there were some people hustling in the park. They were out there, hustling, trying to get they dollars, and they saw what we were doing and wanted to be a part of it. And it's like,
Hmm.
oh, can I get on the mic? And it's like, well,
Hmm.
we got rules. If you want to get on this mic, you got to keep it clean. You can't get on the mic threatening to
Hmm.
kill people and sell dope to grandma, and keep it clean. And they would respect it. And it was like, for that moment, they stopped doing what they was doing, and they would have their friends, hey, film me, I'm about to get on the mic. And so that just being acknowledged, being a part of something, being a part of community, I think
Hmm.
is healing in and of itself. We say in the prevention field that is connection. That's the opposite of addiction. This
Hmm.
sense of connection to something great.
Mm.
This sense of connection to a sense of purpose, and
Yes.
you have a
Yeah.
role. Like what is my role?
What
Is
is part? And that part right there, the connection, the connections of people on Skid Row have been like amazing. Like Lucky, you know, uh, OG Manuel,
that.
Lynn is like the people that I've known down there that are not on Skid Row anymore. That were part of the community.
Hmm.
I mean, they were part of needing a place to stay. And now are so powerful in their own lives and stuff, and still they're there.
That's right.
They still there. They're still
It's
coming to
hero for
make.
life.
Yeah, they're there, man. I was down there for the celebration of the basketball league.
Yeah, the 3-on-3. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. Marion and I went.
Nice.
Marion Lewis, she's on the thread. It was so wonderful to be, to see, just to feel the love. There was a question here that says from Taliba, and I know what she's talking about. She's talking about the LA Can group
Yeah, yeah.
with Monique Noel and everybody.
Uh-huh.
And, a very, they are, yeah, some of those folks have been on Skid Row. They ain't just supportive.
Right. They're actually our neighbors. LA Can's office is right next door. So
Yeah.
and they participate when we do events. We collaborate. So yeah, they do great work. And it's good for. I think that was intentional, just their exposure and being on national television to be able
Well,
to say this, like what you were mentioning, Ricky. There's a community right here that's been ignored, right here in the shadows of City Hall.
mm-hmm,
And it's appalling when we look at the wealth disparities, the extreme poverty, and that's
yes.
something I always say when we talk about homelessness.
Mm-hmm,
People get into these arguments of if it's mental illness or if it's substance abuse,
mm-hmm,
but the underlying factor is always extreme poverty. There's
mm-hmm,
extreme poverty,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and we have to be honest about that because it's easy to say, oh well, if you weren't on drugs, or
mm-hmm,
oh well, if you didn't have a mental illness, and
mm-hmm.
it takes us out of being accountable for how we take care of our citizens.
Yes, yeah. And I have can I share a formula that I came up with? And I gave it to a county supervisor one time, and he had just spoken, and a woman that would eventually become the vice president of America was also there at this gathering, and everybody was pitching because they were running for office. And they were talking about having to do something about the folks who don't have a place to stay, and at that time they were calling it homeless, but now it's the houseless, unhoused,
Unhoused.
the unhoused. So anyway, so when he sat down, I was like, I got a cure for this. I have a way we can get people off the street. And he said, shoot, what you got? Like that. And I started to tell him my idea, because he said it's 48,000 people. And I'm hearing them up there talking, and I'm trying to keep an open mind. But I was already frustrated just, with what they were talking about there, because so many times you hear politicians talking, but they don't the problem continues from decade to decade. I said, well, there are almost 13 million people at that time. There are 13 million people in the LA basin. I said, but if you got at least 4,800 churches. Now we got way more than 4,800 churches. But I said, if we got 4,800 churches and each church takes 10 people, whether that's 10 families or 10 individuals, that they are sponsored by the city to help this group, that if every church took 10 people, that'd be 48,000 people help.
Right.
I say now, of course, if you have some people who need some, there are people who need help, mental assistance, man. They need help. So you can't just have somebody come in your house, without the skills of knowing how to work with people.
Right.
But a lot of people just don't have the money to pay their rent. They're not crazy, or mentally unstable. They're just unstable, with because prices are rising and real estate seems to go to the folks who have the money.
Mm-hmm.
And there's without a basic medium, a basic, what they call it, a basic mean, like or just an income.
Mm-hmm.
Basic. I know a lot of people who just need help, and this country has so much money, but they're not taking care of us. They're not taking care of. When I'm saying us, I don't mean just Black people. I mean the people who need help, in this country, man. And so he said that was a great idea. He said that's a great idea. He ain't thought twice about that. And I see the buildings because Karen Bass has an agenda to build these buildings to get people off the street.
Right.
But my thing is, like, I know so many people who are finding it hard and difficult to pay their property tax,
Right.
that have space in their house and they're doing Airbnb and all this stuff. I'm going like, well, what would happen if we use that space
Mhm.
and these spaces in our homes to help people who need a place to stay?
Mhm.
That's what transitional housing could be to me. So
Right.
anyway, that's Rickie's big
That's
idea.
right. Big,
Yeah.
powerful idea.
Well, what I've done is I've opened my home that way to people who need it, who need a place, people who are getting it together. I'm not getting any sponsorship from the city, but wouldn't it be great if I did?
Mhm.
If we could share what we have. There's a
Right.
scripture that says where the woman says, like, I need some oil and I need this, I need that. My husband's, and he says, Isaiah tells this woman, he says, well, what's in your house? Like, what is it that you have that you could work with? I mean, what is it that we have that we can already work with?
Mhm.
And I love seeing how you work with what you have, what we have together downtown. You do that. But I see the extension of that being folks, doing a little bit more to help.
Hey, that looks like me.
Yeah, well, it looks like you're holding an award there.
Yeah, that was
What's
an
that?
award. That
What
was
what
just
what was that for?
me working at the current job that I have. I've been there 20 years, so that we just acknowledging that I've been putting in work for 20 years. And
For
so
20 years. You got that this year? That's your award you got this year?
I got it yeah, like 20 recently in the fall.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
Is
you know.
do you see, so what's next for you, Charles?
I think next for me, I would say I've always been pretty consistent. So wherever I'm at, I think is always about learning. Is always, and then we're talking about community. One of the things I wanted to share too is there's a Yoruba concept of how community also has its own spirituality.
Mm,
And in one of the Yoruba creation stories, they talk about how everything that was created in groups, that the creator created things in groups. So that includes human beings. Human beings were created in groups. And there's a spirit that the Yoruba called Ashuwada. Ashuwada is the spirit that holds things together, that holds groups together. So every group has its own spirituality.
ooh, y'all hear that?
There's some there's
Ooh-wee.
something really deep and powerful. So when I talk about connection and how connection is opposite of addiction, there's a whole nother spiritual aspect to community that we feel, but many times when we don't have that sense of community, you have unhealthy people. And
Mhm.
so that's really part of my goal in life is to be well and to model wellness, but also to help build community and
Yes.
help community to grow and expand. And
Mm,
when it does, and that involves giving voice to people who are marginalized, people who don't have a voice. And there's such great power in that. And that's one thing I've learned here in Skid Row is that I'm always learning. So I'm the constant student.
mhm,
I share information and people come up and say, "Hey, do you know
mhm,
about this?" Like I never heard of it, but then
mhm.
I added to what I never heard of. So just being willing to learn and share and teach, I think that's I take that with me wherever I go, and I'm also grateful for the connections I make and the people I meet along the way.
You said being willing to learn, to share, and to teach. Wow. That's amazing. That's the person that that's who Charles is. That's what's next. More, so we're chopping wood and carrying water. That's what's next.
That's right.
Doing what's yours to do. I got a song that says, I know I'll do better doing what's mine to do. I know I'll do better doing what's mine to do. And when I look inside of me, pondering what is it means to be free, what it means. I know that I'll do better when I'm doing what I came to do. Hallelujah. I know I'll be stronger doing what's mine to do. I will be stronger doing what's mine to do. And when I look inside of me, wondering what it means to be free, what it means, I know that I'll be stronger. I know that we'll be stronger when we're doing what we came to do. And you doing what you came to do, Charles. You came to build community in a holy, holy way, and you're doing it all these years. And it's been a total uh, privilege to have you with us on Soul Fulfilling tonight. I want to. Oh yeah, right. They're saying you need to. They're saying you need to be coming to the B Hood sometimes.
All right.
Well, yeah, you know you've been saying it.
I know I've been saying it.
Well, Chief Rashid has come over. Oh yeah, before we go, I just want everybody to know that the early bird has been extended a little longer for the spring revival that's happening in at Lake Junaluska in the Blue Ridge Mountains. So I'm going there because it's beautiful there, and it's North Carolina, and my friends are there. Joanne has already got her ticket. Maxine got hers. Marion, get your registration done so that you can join us as we reclaim and restore and remember that God is good. God is so good, and I'm rejoicing in that. You know, I'm just thankful. There's a reason that God put me here, just like I am here. The reason that I was dropped in the family I was dropped into, and I honor my family by doing my best and bringing my best and loving. And you said to learn, to learn was to grow. Was it to learn, to teach, and to share? What was it?
I'm gonna go with that. I shoot from the hip. But
Yeah, somebody need to be writing it down,
right.
but I believe that when everybody on the thread, that we're here to learn. We're here to learn, and to realize that we're still learning. At no point do you know it all. You will never know it all. But you could be. Give me something, Charles, from the stories about what we can about character.
Character. One of my favorite. I'll give you a proverb. One of my favorite. Well, two. I'm gonna give you two.
I knew you had something.
Yeah. Two of my favorite Yoruba proverbs is one. It says "Suuru ni baba iwa." Suuru, patience, is the father of character, and so that is to me very powerful. Just because we're taught the opposite. Like we're taught, how can you go faster, faster, faster?
Mm-hmm.
Patience isn't valued, but in the Yoruba culture, that is the essence of developing your character. You have to be patient. It takes time. We
Mm-hmm.
talk about learning
Mm-hmm.
how you communicate with people, how
Mm-hmm.
you respond to situations. If we're
Mm-hmm.
not patient, then we don't exhibit our best character, and we do things that are out of character. And
Mm-hmm.
so that proverb is powerful for me. It's something I incorporate into my life. And then there's another saying, Iwa lewa. Iwa, character, is beauty. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's powerful as well, because it says what makes you beautiful is when you are who you are.
Mm-hmm.
When the inner essence of who you are shines forward, when you are your own unique being,
Mm-hmm.
that's what makes you beautiful.
Woo! Woo! Hey, spoken from a master teacher. Thank you for joining us tonight, Charles.
Thank you.
You are amazing, my brother.
Thank you. And thanks for those who joined in. I apologize. I wasn't monitoring the chat, but appreciate it.
Oh, they were monitoring. They're talking to each other,
Okay. All right.
and they keep it going. But everybody's got big thumbs up and feeling good about our conversation. And I have learned, because that one, the proverb about patience,
Mhm.
what and character. Tell me again.
Patience is the father of good character.
Patience is the father of good character. Hmm. Hey, we're going to close on that note. Hey, but Sue, you want to come in before we close? Everybody loves to hear your 2 cents. Come on in, Sue.
Sense. Hey, you had me at inherited resilience. Powerful.
That might be the title of my book.
Inherited resilience.
I'm blessed to have met you, Charles. A beautiful man. Thank
Yes,
you.
he,
My honor.
yes, he is. So everybody, be beautiful. Be beautiful along the way. Teach, learn, share, and remember that patience is the father of good character. Ashe.
Shit.
Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God.